Hello, fellow Crusaders, and welcome to our latest Decades of. My name's Sean Wasserkrug. With me, as always, is Brian Michaels. We've done action, we've done horror, and now it is time for animation. And for people wondering why animation, why not like comedy next or something like that? Well, it's because recently there was a really big animated film that just came out on Netflix, and we're probably going to be talking about on a later episode called K-Pop Demon Hunters. And we're like, you know what? We need a Decades of. Fuck it, let's do animation. And I just
it's not even just K-pop. It's like the last few years, there's been a lot of like major like animated films that we've really loved, and so really this is just an excuse. This is just an excuse to get us to the 2020s episode. Honestly.
Exactly, because when we get to the 2020s, I mean, hell, Spider-Verse, Nimona won Movie of the Year for us. When would we ever have thought that an animated film would be our #1 film of the year? Right. So we decided, screw it, let's do animation because there's plenty of animation to talk about. Now, this is the 90s episode, and the reason why we're not going too much into before, I'll let Brian divulge into.
Yeah. Well, first of all, just in terms of an overview, we are not pretending to be experts on animation. We are not here to educate people on the history of animation. So don't come adding us with, all the movies we missed or the things we're not talking about, or, oh, you guys said that this was the first of the... No, we are just here to give our personal thoughts and opinions on the animation of those eras. So that's all that is. This is the 90s episode. We will talk briefly about pre-90s, mostly because there really wasn't much to talk about before that. I mean, there's a couple scattered things in the 80s. Before 1990, well, let's say before 1980, Disney was largely the only game in town. I mean, there was, besides Disney doing feature films, it was mostly shorts. It was mostly, Looney Tunes. It was Rankin Bass. It was, that kind of stuff. There were, other ones. There's like, the Charlotte's Webs. There's the Lord of the Rings. There's, like Yellow Submarines and things like that. But there really wasn't, and as far as what interests us, there just wasn't enough earlier to spend a whole lot of time on this pre-90s section.
Yeah, well, for me, I've got plenty of 80s stuff because I'm an 80s kid. Excuse me. The cough's still here, guys. It's almost gone. I swear to God, I hope it's almost gone. I'm an 80s kid, so I had plenty for the 80s. But in terms like exactly what he said, in terms of the pre-80s, because I still did my list in case we were going to do pre-80s. Only one on my list for top surprises and overrated is not Disney. I mean, like for me, like the two that stand out for me that I loved pre-80s was Sword in the Stone and Robin Hood. Those were my two like pre-80s go-to animated Disney movies. And then like after that, it's more like their shorts, like that I would sit in front of the TV and watch on Disney Channel, like Ichabod and Mr. Toad, or the Trick or Treat episode with like the Huey, Dewey, and Louie, or heck, Looney Tunes, Rapid Fire, or Rabbit Fire with Elmer and Donald, or not Donald, Daffy and Bugs, like stuff like that. But I mean, is it enough to really do a whole episode on?
Oh yeah, if you're including shorts, I can give you a whole list of like Looney Tunes and stuff like that.
Well, like because Letterboxd treats them as individual movies, so I had rankings for them. I was like, oh well,
yeah, they're individual movies, but they're also listed as like 4 minutes long or whatever.
Yeah.
So there are plenty of those I could include. Although they have, especially in like the 70s and 80s, they did release in theaters, like basically collected a bunch of shorts into a movie and put it in theaters. So I mean, technically, so I could say those are maybe some of my favorites that are out there. As far as pre-80s, I mean, I enjoyed Jungle Book. Robin Hood was probably one of the more tolerable ones. Although the pacing of those earlier movies are a little slow, and the music.
Asking Sean, when was the last time I watched any of them?
Yeah,
we're talking 20+ years.
Yeah.
So I remember fondly loving Robin Hood and Sword in the Stone and all that.
Yeah, and then of course, like I said, the Rankin Bass stuff, like the Year Without a Santa Claus and Rudolph and Frosty stuff. But these are not theatrical releases either. So, but then again, we're gonna be talking about Netflix stuff later. So, it is.
Yeah, and we've also discussed. Are we counting movies that are live action / animated? And
the hybrid,
the hybrids, and we are going to. We also claymation, all that stuff. That's all animation style to an effect, because if we're not going to count that, then why would we count Pixar? Because that's not actual animation. So we go down the wrong path. So we're including all that stuff. Just so we can get into the 90s, let me run through a quick little top 10 of my favorite 80s ones, in no particular order, guys, because I did not rank them. But like, just for instance, The Secret of NIMH. I loved watching that as a kid. It was extra dark. So I was like, ooh, I don't know if I should be watching this. And or even like Ricky Tikki Tavi. Like that was one because and I always got mad when the snake died, just like I got mad when Jaws died as a kid. I like love snakes and sharks. Don't get mad at me when I get mad that they died. My like we've said on the show before, my first ever film that I saw in a movie theater, Oliver and Company. Couldn't remember a lick of it because it's been so long since I've seen it, but I remember that's the first film I ever saw in theaters. Not the second one, but the first one I watched on repeat, the Care Bears movie, the first one. I don't remember if it's good or not. I just remember that like when I was a kid, I was all about the Care Bears. But I didn't like the second one though. But I do remember liking the first one. I do remember this one fondly because I still like it to this day, and that's the Chipmunks Adventure when they're like doing the whole race with like the female chipmunks. I really enjoyed that. And also the Brave Little Toaster. Loved the Brave Little Toaster when I was a kid. Also, of course, you got American Tail. I was a big Fievel fan when I was little, especially the Somewhere Out There song was always a big favorite of mine. Of course, Little Mermaid. I think most 80s kids are gonna like Little Mermaid or love Little Mermaid. Not the live action one, but definitely the animated. Of course, I'm a boy, so naturally Transformers the movie is right up there for me. And of course, my favorite dinosaur film ever before Jurassic Park, The Land Before Time. And yes, I still get emotional every time Littlefoot's mom dies. And I still, and like I said on Jurassic World Rebirth review, they missed out hugely by not naming the baby dinosaur Sarah and calling it Dolores. That's the biggest whiff that they could have ever fucking made. They should have.
Well, including Dolores was a whiff in that movie. We won't get into that.
Well, yeah, that's for you. But for me, if you're gonna have it, I know it's not a Triceratops. I know it's a different species, but still, it looks like fucking Sarah. Call it Sarah. And then lastly, like we said, for the hybrids, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I mean, who doesn't love Who Framed Roger Rabbit? It's iconic for a reason.
I will say just to say a few on my end. Little Mermaid, which I almost consider it a 90s movie, just because Little Mermaid kind of marked the beginning of the Disney Renaissance and that 90s golden era, which we're going to talk about. So that was 1989. It was right before they went in there. Little Mermaid, love that movie. Who Framed Roger Rabbit, obviously, it's hilarious, revolutionary for its time, not only for the animation, but also just being able to get all the different studios and things to allow their stuff to be used together in a film. Transformers, I watched religiously as a kid, the TV show. The movie sucked balls because they said, hey, let's just kill everybody off and make a bunch of new ones so kids have to buy all new toys. And so I was not a fan of
and that's the funny thing movies. For me is I was kind of on the opposite, even though it didn't do what you're saying. I loved G.I. Joe, not a fan of the movie. I thought the movie was just I was never a big fan of the G.I. Joe movie. But come on, you can't pass up You Got the Touch. That song was iconic.
More as a meme, though, not as like that's an actual good song. I mean,
oh, come on. At your age, maybe, but at my age, that was like yeah, hell yeah. Anything else 80s wise?
Nothing else for best stuff. There were just to mention about the 80s. Like I said, they had kind of done the hybrid thing again with Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It kind of was the birth, not the birth. I mean, they had been doing it before that, but kind of the growth of anime coming out of Japan. Started coming with Kiki's Delivery Service, My Neighbor Totoro. Those both originally came out in the 80s. So some of that Studio Ghibli stuff started coming out, and Akira, which if we were doing the list, I would actually put Akira on one of my most overrated because I don't think it's that good. I mean, for people that love anime, they might love that movie, and I'm sure it's groundbreaking for having kind of burst through to a little bit more mainstream for Japanese animation. But I found that movie just really boring as hell. And as far as the Don Bluth stuff, which is they were like the distant second of animation behind Disney in the 80s. I was never really a fan of the Don Bluth stuff. I mean, there's the really junky stuff they made, and then there was the stuff that was like pretty good quality, like Land Before Time and American Tail and some of those. But I just never loved those. I thought they were fine, but that's just me. And I also have not seen Land Before Time 2 through 27 or whatever they did.
I only ever watched, I think, the first 3. I think only the first 2 are necessary, and then they're just like.
Well, that's they start pumping them out on VHS.
Yeah. Even 2 was straight to VHS, so only the first one was ever theaters. But I thought the second one was fine. Third one, even as a kid, I was like, these aren't that good. And I just watched the first two over and over and over again.
You know what I felt like just from the clips I saw, because I remember my kids like watching once I had kids, like they get them from the library or whatever, and they watched some of those later Land Before Times, and it felt like, you know, when you have like a hit movie and then they make like a TV series out of it.
Yeah.
It felt like that because the animation was clearly way cheaper. You know, the stories were not as, you know, deep.
In terms of the like straight to VHS sequels, the only ones that were even remotely good, in my opinion, since we're in the 90s and they're not going to be on any of my lists, was probably Aladdin and Lion King. Those were the only two that I thought actually had like solid straight to VHS sequels. I think both of them.
The only one I'll push back on, it might have come out in the 2000s, but the original was in the 90s. Mulan 2, I actually thought was pretty good.
Never saw Mulan 2, so I couldn't really justify that. But yeah, I think like Return to Jafar and Prince of Thieves, I thought were both solid sequels. And then of course Lion King 1.5 and Lion King 2, I thought were decent. I think all four of those could have done.
I love the approach. I will say I love the approach of Lion. We're getting into the 90s already, but who cares?
Yeah.
Because Lion King,
we were talking about straight to VHS sequels, so it's
right. Because I think Lion King 2 came out first, I believe.
Yeah, Lion King 1.5
Lion King 2 came out, and basically, whereas the first Lion King was essentially Hamlet, Lion King 2 became basically Romeo and Juliet, which I thought was an interesting way to go. And then they went back, and because Lion King 1 was Hamlet, when they did 1.5, it was basically Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. Which, for any of you who are not familiar with that movie, it basically takes these two like little supporting kind of comedic characters from the story of Hamlet and follows their story while the story of Hamlet's going on. And then like throughout the movie, you kind of see it interweave with scenes you recognize from the mainstream story of Hamlet. And I loved how Lion King 1.5 did that same thing using Timon and Pumbaa. So that was fun.
I did not know that, but that makes me kind of like appreciate it more for what it was doing. Like I said, I can't talk basically about the Hamlet aspect of it, but it's just knowing like, oh yeah, they did that too. Okay, that tip to the hat for Disney going, these are kids, they're not gonna know, but we're showing some Shakespeare just our way, kind of thing, which I thought was kind of cool. But yeah, going to the 90s, like you said, it really kind of kicked off with Little Mermaid in '89, the Disney Renaissance. Because, like I said, for me personally, outside of Little Mermaid, like I said, Sword in the Stone and Robin Hood, I really didn't care about the others because the other ones they felt more like, you know, girl movies. Cinderella, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty. It's like, if they're on, I'm not gonna like go, I refuse to watch this. But it's not all of a sudden like my mom was like, what do you want to watch? I want to watch Snow White. Fuck you. No.
You tend to gravitate towards like the boy ones, the Sword and the Stones, the Jungle Books, the Rescuers. I actually like the Rescuers.
Rescuers was also one of the pre-80 ones. I was like, but I was more of a Rescuers Down Under fan than I was.
Oh, I love Rescuers Down Under.
Yeah, which I'll be talking about here in a little bit. But
oh, good.
Yeah, so like when 90s. You what?
I said I was trying to decide what to put on one of my lists. I can skip that now and let you bring it up. So
okay. But yeah, like going into the 90s is really when and if it doesn't if everyone goes, Sean, you and Brian always seem to just go, yeah, the 90s was the best. It's because it really was some of the most innovative like stuff. 80s started it, and then 90s perfected it, and then the 2000s just kind of kept trying to do what the 90s did with uneven results, and then 2010s was really like, okay, we're changing it up. And it was like that with horror, it was like that with action. I don't know if it's actually going to be like that here when we get to animation. I guess we'll figure it out once we go, but I will say the animation from 80 to 90 vastly changed. 2000s, there's some really good ones in there. 2010 and 2020, when I was going through making I'm like, oh my god, like 2010s was hard.
Then we're only halfway through the 2020s. I'm like, holy shit, some of my favorites of all time are on here. Yeah,
exactly. So it is much like horror and action. Yeah, 80s is loved for a lot of it, but still, it's not great, but it's memorable. 90s is like I don't know what everyone was doing in the 90s, but they just figured it out in the 90s, and it's probably going to be the same when we get into the fucking comedies. Actually, no, comedies is going to be different. Comedies is going to start off really, really strong, which is probably why we haven't done it yet. And once we get to like 2010s, it's going to get really sad and depressing because the comedies kind of are dying out, much like rom-coms. But the 90s, I mean, you have Disney in the Renaissance, you have the birth of Pixar, you have the birth of DreamWorks really didn't really kick off till 2000.
98 was their first animated films.
Well, yeah, but 2000s is really when DreamWorks kind of was like, hey, we're here. So not a whole lot of DreamWorks talks at this point. So I mean, it's still for the most part Disney's territory, but Disney was just hitting them out of the park. Also, you have the Claymations, brands starting to come into play. Like I said, Pixar, which started as Disney and then went away and then came back.
Well,
so
Pixar actually was its own company created by Apple and George Lucas of all people. Disney basically said, "Hey, their competition," bought them up, and so that's how they became part of Disney.
Yeah, so I mean, with 90s, it was just it wasn't much like it is now. It wasn't like I'm gonna watch this animated film. Oh, what are you, a kid? Why? These are fucking good. Like, don't knock me for watching an animated film.
That's the one thing I remember is maybe it was my age at the time, but like Little Mermaid came out. I was in high school, and yes, I'm old. We've talked about this many times. And I watched this movie, and even I was like resistant. I'm like, I don't want to see a Disney movie. Come on, what am I, a little kid? And then I went and saw it. I'm like, wow, this is actually really good. And then everybody's like, what? You're watching a kids movie? Why are you watching cartoons? And it's like, little did they know that in 2 years, a cartoon's getting nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. I mean, it really was kind of a turning point for animation, not only in the quality of it, but in how the public perceived it. Because really, before like 89, before Little Mermaid, I think 99% of animation was looked at as kid stuff, or at least family stuff. I mean, there was like I said, the occasional things of the the heavy metal and the Lord of the Rings and whatever it was, but it was all just looked at as like, oh, that's just for kids. But like this point, they're like, this is quality filmmaking.
Yeah, I think for me, it was around like 98, 99 when I got to that age where I was like, it's not cool to like Disney show movies anymore. Which is why it was, I think, until last year when I actually finally saw the animated Mulan, because it was around that time frame where I was like, I'm not.
You saw the live action one first?
Yeah.
Oh wow! I'm sorry.
I didn't mind. I liked the live action, which is probably why, because I didn't have the animated to like.
Because you didn't realize you were missing out on Mushu and the songs. That's why. Those are the two best parts of the movie.
But I mean, it was that was kind of like thing. It was like I didn't really. Everyone's like, you haven't watched it. I go, maybe that's for the best. Maybe I won't have like that. Like I guess because we always attacked the live actions for not matching this, the animated. And it's like, well, with Mulan, I won't have that problem. I can watch Mulan pretty much straightforward. But it was around that time where I think it was kind of like, I want to say when Disney did like Hunchback and Tarzan was kind of when I was checking out on Disney. But Pixar was around, and I was like, well, I love Toy Story and I love that stuff. And it wasn't probably until 2000s when I started working at the movie theater where I was like, well, I'm just going to watch everything. And then I was back into like just pretty much watching all the shit. So there was about that like 2-3 years where I was like, outside, the only animation I think I would watch was like Simpsons and South Park. I think it was like the only real animation shit that I would watch at that point, because I was becoming 13, 14 years old, and that shit wasn't considered cool. But before then, though, animation was great. So for anyone who has not watched the Decades series from us before, how we do it is we go over our top 5 favorite films of that decade. We go over our surprises, which is kind of like almost like our version of doing like our 6 through 10 of favorites, because they're movies that we love. We're not necessarily surprised by them anymore because some of them are cult favorites and beloved by everybody. And then we also go over our overrated, which will either piss people off or have a overwhelming agreement with us. Most of the time we're pissing people off because we're going after movies that people really, really love. And we take joy in pissing people off in certain ways. So each decade we're going to give our lists for that. They're not particularly in an order. We've said that numerous times. I think when we get to the best, it kind of can be, but usually we kind of just name our 5 favorites, and if we have some slight honorable mentions, we'll do that. So that's kind of how the format is for us. Did you want to start with surprises or overrated first for the 90s?
You know what? Let's knock out the negatives first. So let's go with the underrated. Okay. And now how many are you doing for these? How many are you doing for these?
I've got 5, and I'm sure I'm going to
5 for all 3 categories.
I've got 5 for all 3.
Okay.
I'm sure I'm going to piss every single one of you guys off for the overrated. Which is why I made the disclaimer of what I said earlier, because most of these overrateds are when I was in that age range. I also am going to say this, at least on my side. I don't know if Brian has any. If you guys are expecting Studio Ghibli or any of the anime stuff in the series, I don't watch Studio Ghibli or anime, so I would say probably 99% are not going to be talked about on this for me. I don't know if Brian's going to have any, but
I will say will be a couple talked about throughout the series for me, but they won't be on the positive lists. So
okay. So if you guys are sitting here, well, I can't wait for it. It's not happening, guys. It's not. I'm sorry. It's not my bag. I'm sure if I actually sat down and watched them, I'd probably like, yeah, okay, they're good, they're fine. I don't think they probably deserve all, which is pretty much what these overrateds are going to be for me. Which I'm going to start off with the one that we just said, which is Mulan. It's fine, but here's my thing, and this is not Mulan's fault. It's not. I watched it for the first time last year, 2024. I already watched the live action Mulan, which I enjoyed, and then everyone's like, "Oh, wait till you see Mushu." Mushu's just donkey in dragon form.
No. Donkey is Mushu in
exactly.
Donkey form.
But for me, I've watched Donkey 4 fucking times. How many times have I watched Shrek or any of the Shreks? So when I go and watch Mushu, it's just like, okay, so it's just Donkey. Eddie Murphy's not really doing anything new, which, like you said, he didn't do anything new as Donkey. So I get it. But for me, Mulan is not a bad movie. I'm not saying that. It's a good animated film, but years and years and years, I mean, everyone go, "You've never seen Mulan? What the hell?" And then I finally watched it. I'm just like, okay, like, I don't think I deserve to get chastised for it, like, for 20 plus years for not seeing it. It's fine. I honestly kind of prefer the live action, which I know is sacrilegious, but I don't think the dragon was necessarily needed in this story.
You know, I completely 100% disagree with everything you're saying, but I respect that if you saw Shrek first and you saw the live action Mulan first, I get it. I understand it. I respect your opinions. I will say I love Mulan. I honestly feel it's one of the more underrated ones, which I don't think I made my list. I know our surprises has also kind of been, some are lesser known, some are just ones we think are underrated. It's kind of a little everything. It almost made my list for that, just because I think people do think of that as one of the not one of the best of the 90s. But I really love it. I love the music in it. I love the animation in it. I love Mushu. I love the comedy. But like I said, I respect your opinion. I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, it's not me going, I hate it. It's just it's good, but I don't think it deserves, especially around the time it came out with everything else that was going on around that time. Just saying. So, how many overrated do you have?
I had 3, but I can easily grab 2 more, I'm sure. Let me start off with, I'm going to piss people off about what I start off with. I'm going to start off with one that
probably started off by saying Mulan. So,
well, I'll finish off the rest of the crowd. You know, let me just knock out this one right away. Princess Mononoke, first Studio Ghibli film I saw, because I was not familiar with them. It had a lot of people when they released it in the US with a US voice cast. It had some people in there that I liked. So I was like, I'll check out this movie. It's getting a lot of great buzz. And I went and saw it, and I said, this is not for me. I don't like the animation style. That's the primary thing. I found it kind of slow, found it kind of boring. Yeah, it's like, I get that they have big followings, but this movie was just not for me, and that's all I have to say about it.
All right. My number 4 is one that as a kid, I should have loved this, and I remember being excited for this. But then every time I watch it, I'm like, I love the first half, but I don't really care for the second half, and that's Hercules. Hercules is literally my wheelhouse of shit that I love to watch. Hydras and monsters and sword fighting. Hell yeah. But for me, I always feel like halfway through the film, my brain just stops caring. I don't know if it's like the story or what, but I always like really enjoy the first half of Hercules, and I don't really give a rat's ass about the second half of it. I think I like his rise to becoming Hercules, and then once he is Hercules, I'm checked out. It's just, and then it's always been a thing. It's like I will sit there and watch it. Like, I don't get why I don't like this movie, but I don't care. Like it's a half a good movie for me, and I really can't explain why. I really can't. But yeah,
I'll talk about Hercules later.
okay. Your next one.
Let's piss off some more people. I feel like animation, more than most genres, really gets tainted by people's nostalgia and looking back in rose-colored glasses because they saw something as a kid and they loved it as a kid, and so as an adult they're like, that was a great movie. It's a 5-star movie and everyone should love it. We've talked about this in the past with things like the rubber suit Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, things like that just aren't good.
I'm gonna defend that. I'm gonna defend it.
So such is the case with something like a Goofy movie. I have never a Goofy movie would be fine as like some Disney Channel just throwaway kind of thing, and people could watch it, enjoy it, just like they do the Goofy shorts, whatever. But people talk about this movie like it is the animated classic of the 90s. It should be right up there with the Lion Kings and the Aladdin. It's like, no, this is a average movie, a mildly amusing movie that I'm sure if you watched it as a kid and you loved it, and you probably still hold this love for it as an adult. But I mean, I was not a kid when this came out. So I guess I just didn't have that. It didn't grab me that way. I just thought it was, it was just another forgettable animated film that came out in the 90s.
I will be talking about this later. So, yeah. My next one, I feel like will piss off some people, but I feel like they'll probably be more on my side, and that's The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I just have never liked this movie. I just never liked the characters. I know it's Disney animation, but for some reason I never really liked the animation style of this movie. Never really been I've every time I've watched it, I've had to like force myself to sit down and watch it, and even then it's begrudgingly like annoyed while watching this movie. I just didn't care at all for this film. I don't know if it's as beloved as I'm maybe thinking it is. I feel like maybe most people might be on my side, but I put it on here just because it is a Disney film and I just do not care for it.
I'll talk about that later.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's gonna be that kind of episode. All right. Dipping into the people's nostalgia and not being able to observe how not good a movie really is. We are including hybrids. Space Jam. I live just outside Chicago. I was a huge Chicago Bulls fan, especially during the Jordan era. I was one of the people I was watching every game. I was obsessed with it. I loved Jordan, everything about it. I love Looney Tunes. I love Looney Tunes shorts. I love Looney Tunes movies. They said, hey, let's make this movie with Michael Jordan and Looney Tunes together. It's going to be fun, right? And the concept of it could be fun. It's not that funny. And the animation is not really incorporated nearly as good as in something like Roger Rabbit. It's okay, but it's just it's clearly not done nearly as well. And Michael Jordan can't act.
You could watch this hilariously because of how bad Michael Jordan is in.
But hey, if you think Michael Jordan can't act, look at the rest of the basketball players that showed up in that movie. They're even worse somehow.
At least they're barely in the film.
Right, so you don't get to see them trying to do as much. But yeah, this is another movie that just disappointed me, and it's I mean, part of it's just that they decided to introduce new characters like Lola Bunny's in there, which she was fine, but
Lola
it's like
Bunny opened up a lot of people's horny boxes back then for animated. Lola Bunny is the 90s kids equivalent to
Jessica Rabbit.
Yes, Jessica Rabbit and Who Framed Roger Rabbit for the 80s kids. Like that's literally what it is.
Yeah, but it's like because they brought in some new characters and like the old characters I wish we could have seen more of are kind of sidelines. So basically just Bugs Bunny and maybe Daffy, and then just like a little bit of supporting lines for the rest of them. But yeah, mostly it just wasn't very good. And again, I know a lot of people hold this love for it because it's from their childhoods, but not me.
It's nostalgia to the max, but I watch it now and it is Michael Jordan is so atrocious in this movie. Like, dude, I have seen your emotions on the court. I know what you're capable of. Did you just not care? What I love about it too is that he used it more. If you watch the Last Dance thing, he used this more as a training camp so that he could figure out how to beat these players that were in the movie. You know, because he's like, we're just gonna play basketball every day while I'm actually learning how to beat you guys to win more championships. You son of a bitch. Smart. That's a Kobe tactic, but which he probably got from Jordan. But yeah, I think the biggest thing that they fucked up on this is that they did not really continue with Lola Bunny after this. Lola Bunny was kind of like a one and done. It's like, you guys really didn't capitalize on the popularity of Lola Bunny after this movie came out. Like, what the fuck, guys? But the movie is atrocious. Bill Murray knows the assignment. Bill Murray's great in the movie. I enjoy the fuck out of Bill Murray. And when they actually start playing basketball, even though the rules are out the fucking window because it's Looney Tunes, I enjoy it for that part. But yeah, up to that point though, Michael Jordan is not an actor, let alone a fucking lead actor. At least LeBron could act a little bit. It's not the new one didn't fail because of LeBron. The new one failed because of what they did around LeBron that made that suck. But yeah, Space Jam is oof. That and the most memorable thing about Space Jam is the song, and you can't even be allowed to enjoy that song anymore because of who sang it. So yeah, that was your number 3, right?
That was 3. Yes.
Okay, my number 2 is gonna piss off a shitload of people as well. It is a beloved Disney film from the 90s, and that's Pocahontas. Never cared about Pocahontas. The best thing about Pocahontas is Percy the Pug, because I'm a pug lover and I love pugs, and that is literally the only. I have nothing against the raccoon. Outside of the 2 animal characters, could give a rat's ass about this movie. And Color in the Wind, I don't care. And I love Mel Gibson to a point, but he is not good with animated. I did not care for Mel Gibson's animated voice in this. Yeah, Pocahontas was never been a favorite of mine. I've never enjoyed watching it except to watch the pug and the raccoon.
I enjoy Pocahontas, but I think it's just thinking about it just offhand, I'd say it's probably my least favorite of the 90s Disney run.
Okay, good. So you're not going to be talking about this one later, where I'm just.
We'll talk about this one later. No.
Just attacking all your favorites. All right, what's your next one?
All right. Yeah, that's definitely not overrated. You know what? Go ahead and I'll go ahead and I'm just gonna jump. I think I only have 4, so I'm gonna jump my last one, and they can do your last one.
If you guys have not been pissed off yet, this is gonna piss you off. I'm surprised you don't know what I'm about to say. This movie's fine. It's fine. But people have built their fucking like holidays around this goddamn film, including my girlfriend, and that is The Nightmare Before Christmas. I don't get it, guy. First off, I'm not a huge claymation guy. I don't care for claymation. The movie is fine, but it is not the best fucking thing in the world. The music is okay. The story is okay. They could have done so much more with the story than what they did. It's almost like the movie starts off, I'm like, okay, this is an interesting premise. They really could go a lot of ways with it. And they go, this is still a kid's movie. We don't want to go too far. I'm like, you guys really could have made something huge out of this. You did, though, because everyone fucking loves this movie, apparently for just me, not me. But yeah, every time everyone's like, oh my God, Nightmare Before Christmas. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck? No. I don't get it. I don't get it. And like I said, you can even, I'm not going to have any of the other ones on here like Frankenweenie and Corpse Bride and stuff because they're not as beloved as this. Yeah. But my God, man, Nightmare Before Christmas just annoys me.
You know, I almost put this on my list, but the thing is, I like this movie. I enjoy this movie.
I don't dislike it, but it does not deserve to literally have everything be about it.
Well, and also I realize it's like 95% just because of the music. I like the songs in it a lot. Not every song. There's 1 or 2, but for the most part, I love the songs. Thing is, I don't really like the character design. I think most of them just look kind of dumb and cheap. So I'm not a big fan of that. Stop motion animation. It's technically not claymation. Claymation's
Yeah,
like art and like
it's
walking
stop
around.
motion. It's
But
stop
stop motion
motion.
animation. It's very hit and miss for me. There are some I like, especially once we get into Leica animation starts. You'll hear me pour some love
I
on that.
I think, and they're not on my list, but I think like Fantastic Mr. Fox and like Isle of Dogs, even though we're not big Wes Anderson fans, I think those look amazing.
The most watchable Wes Anderson films, probably.
Yeah, exactly. I think they look amazing, but yeah, this I just don't.
Yeah, but this one it's just one of those where I do enjoy it, but it got blown up into this, which is weird because the movie came out and it was not a hit when it came out. It came out and I saw it and a few friends saw it. We really like this movie, and we tried to get other people to go see it. It was not a big hit. It was actually, and it was even released under like the Touchstone label. And then they later, when they re-released it like on home video and back in theaters again, it's now they put it under the Disney umbrella. It was just labeled as Walt Disney Presents because they wanted to give it like an extra push and let people know like, hey, this is Disney, so you have to see it. You love Disney, right? So they kind of tried to push it harder that way, but it wasn't a big hit. But it kind of got this. I worked at Suncoast Motion Picture Company at the time, a video store. We'd buy movie stuff and movie merchandise and VHS tapes and everything.
Yeah.
And we had so much Nightmare Before Christmas merchandise and toys and clothes and all this stuff. And it all went clearance because we hardly sold any of it. Now that stuff you'd like find on eBay for extraordinary prices because it became like this cult thing and the Hot Topic crowd, latched onto it. And it just became this whole big thing. And so while I enjoy the movie, I can totally agree that it is overrated.
Okay, good. Because I'm like, I want to say you're with me on this. Probably not as much, but
yeah. I don't dislike the movie at all.
And I'm glad my girlfriend's not here right now to hear this because I'd probably be getting the biggest dirty look behind camera right now if she heard me.
You see a shoe fly out from off screen.
Yeah, luckily she's not home, and so I mean I'm safe right now, guys. But if I come back and I got a black eye next episode, you guys know what happened. This is me letting you know. I'm in danger.
My last one I think is going to get a lot of hate for me. I just don't like this movie. I don't think it's very good. And that's Batman Mask of the Phantasm. There are people who think this is like the best Batman movie that exists. The Batman series that came out at the time, like with this animation, I thought was okay. It was fine for a TV cartoon. It was a nice take on Batman that, after the movie came out, they released this kind of a dark cartoon, darker than most of the stuff that was out there. And it was fine. But this really did just feel like a long episode of the TV show and not even one of the better episodes of the TV show. And it's one of those movies that I wouldn't think anything about. I don't think anything negative of it, but people praise this thing so much. It's just like, no, it's not that good. And I don't know why you people love this so much.
I love the animated series. And I've actually gone back and rewatched the animated series a few times. It's been a while since I've done it, but I like went back and rewatched the entire animated series when it came out on like Blu-ray and stuff like that. Because the animation is fucking gorgeous for what it's doing. It's such a simple aspect of it, but they make it flawless. And I like that it isn't necessarily a kids animated show either. And I think that was kind of like why so many people love it, much like X-Men. It's like, this isn't really for kids. And so like X-Men and Batman are like right there. I like Mask of Phantasm. I do. Do I think it's one of the best Batmans? I mean, if we're chalking it up to 90s Batman, sure, because you got, Batman Returns, Forever, and Robin. So yes, if we're going there, then yes, it's one of the best ones. But with everything else that's been out since then, I mean, I still really enjoy Mask of Phantasm. I think every time I watch it, though, it's not that it drops a little more for me, but it's more like it's not as good as I remember. I also think, and a lot of people don't want to mention this one, I think Batman Sub-Zero, which is another Batman movie where he's fighting Mr. Freeze, I think that's just as good, if not on par with Mask of Phantasm. Neither one of them are on my list. But yeah, I was like, I guarantee you Mask of Phantasm is going to be on this for Brian because I know you weren't like the hugest fan. But I do
again, I thought the series was fine. I didn't love it as much as some people, but I really did enjoy the series. But this, like I said, just felt like a long, weaker episode of the series.
If I was doing a top 10 for the 90s, Phantasm would have probably been in the lower half of it. But yeah, it's good. But it is because the anime series is so beloved, which like I said, I do love it. That's why the movie is so beloved. But I get it. It is a little overrated. I wouldn't put it at number one, but it is a little overrated.
Well, I didn't have these. These were not ranked for me.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, mine were rated technically. All right, so next we'll go to surprises. Like we said, not necessarily are these like, oh my god, I expected this to suck and it blew me away. These are more like not like Brian does more of the lesser knowns. Mine are just more kind of like a secondary top 5 for me to a point. But also, maybe movies that aren't as like in the limelight, and some of them are like, yeah, I fully expected this to suck, but it actually was pretty decent. I only have 4 for this, so
I have, well, I have 4. Well, let's say I have 5 because I'm going to call one of them an honorable mention. Let me throw that out of the way.
okay.
I was talking about Batman: Mask of the Phantasm, how it feels like just a long episode of the TV show. Tiny Toons.
Are you in the summer movie?
How I spent my vacation. How I spent summer vacation.
That is my number 1. That is my number 1. My number 1.
Well, I guess we'll knock that out of the way now then.
Can we, yeah, we'll knock it out right now. Yes, I was like, Brian's gonna give me so much shit for this. That's not a movie.
Well, that's why I was saying I was unsure if I should include it on my list because it was not theatrical released. It wasn't. It was just like straight to video, or whatever. This is a movie that is essentially just a long episode of the TV show, and it kind of feels like episodes of the TV show is kind of mashed together, although it's not. It has a through line to it, but does it right, and it's like one of the best things Tiny Toons ever did. If you never watched Tiny Toons, I love Tiny Toons. I love Tiny Toons. Tiny Toons, and then when they Tiny Toons in that area, they also like added Animaniacs onto it. There was a golden age of TV cartoons there.
When you came home, like CW, you had Batman, you had Animaniacs, you had Tiny Toons. Like you didn't try to play with kids when you got out of school. You came home to go watch that. Because that was like a 2-hour block of just like awesomeness. And
it was one of those shows that it was great stuff for kids, but also like if you were like me when I was probably 19 when this movie came out, there was a lot of stuff that's going to go over kids' heads, not like dirty stuff, but like references, especially like homages to movies and things like that the kids aren't going to get that the adults catch. Like, oh, that's clever. So yeah, this is a one that I love, and most people like haven't seen it or just don't remember it. But it's a ton of fun, and if you get a chance to watch it again, check it out.
I feel like whatever ill will Brian had towards me with my overrateds, because like Mulan and Hercules and Hunchback are going to be talked about, I won it back by saying
this makes me so happy. Yes.
I pulled him back in, guys. I love Tiny Toons more than I love Looney Tunes. Tiny Toons was definitely my age range. I still remember the fucking theme song. I love the characters. I love these characters. I still think Baby Plucky is my favorite character. And I will still say like elevator go up, elevator go down.
Let's say blue ball go in the hole.
Down the hole. He's not in. Look, sadly, Baby Plucky is not in this movie. I love these characters. They even just came out with a new series of it. I'm afraid to watch it because I'm like, watch this not be good, and I don't.
And they also have like a newer, cheap-looking animation style to it.
Yeah, like I like DVR'd it, but I've never watched it because I'm afraid that it's going to taint how I feel about the original series. But I love Summer Vacation. With the Wacky World Land and the whole like journey with Plucky and oh my god.
Babs and Buster?
No,
what are you trying to think of?
Porky. Plucky and the pig. The pig.
I know, I'm trying to remember. It's been a long time.
It's not Ham, isn't it?
Is it Ham?
Is it Ham? No, Ham.
Yeah, Ham. Hampton J. Pig is his full name.
Oh my god, I was right then. I was like, yeah, Plucky and Ham, but that's not right. But yeah, I love that. I love every aspect of this story. But the Wacky World Land, obviously, to me, is the biggest story for me. But then, like I said, I said the movie, the older generation movie things, like you have like the Deliverance part.
Oh, Deliverance is my favorite part of that. And like that's the one that they don't talk about. Kids aren't going to get that, but adults are like, holy shit, they're doing Deliverance.
What is about to happen in this cartoon? Kids, go in the other room before I tell you, so I can tell you to come back out if it's safe.
Ham's really gonna squeal like a pig.
I feel like Tiny Toons walked so movies like Shrek and all them could run in the 2000s because they were like, look, guys, we can get away with having raunchy jokes that kids are going to understand, but parents are going to laugh and enjoy it, and then they can watch animated as well. And I feel like Tiny Toons really did that very, very well, and I loved how I spent my summer vacation. It's so damn good.
I'm so happy you had this too.
Oh yeah, I guess go again because you just took my number one. So
okay. Other one, again, these are not necessarily lesser.
Unless you want to talk about Rescuers Down Under, because that was going to be my next one. And you want
let's go ahead and knock that out. I wasn't.
So Rescuers Down Under
was my cut. It was like just my honorable mention. I was going to talk about, but now I put something else instead. So go ahead.
Yeah, Rescuers Down Under was going to be my first one I was going to talk about. Like I said, the Rescuers. I barely remember the Rescuers, but as a kid, I always watched the Rescuers Down Under. I remember really enjoying the oh god, was it a dragon, like a lizard dragon? It was that. Yeah, it was like a Komodo dragon. Like he always just wanted the eggs and stuff. I really enjoyed the animation. I really enjoyed the animation of it. I liked the characters, and I always just thought back on that fondly as just an enjoyable film for me. And like I said, I don't remember the original Rescuers, but I always remember Rescuers Down Under.
Yeah, the original Rescuers is one of, like I said, the earlier Disney ones that I actually like, and actually kind of enjoy. Rescuers, I think it was kind of a darker one too, because they kidnapped the little girl, and it's like the mean lady's holding her like in the swamp with alligators and stuff. And this one kind of went the same direction, where it wasn't afraid to go dark. I mean, you had this poacher basically who kidnaps it. He basically gets this kid because he's trying to get this golden eagle he wants to hunt down. But first and foremost, the animation in this movie, gorgeous. I mean, obviously they later got it, after that got into, Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and Lion King and then the whole golden age of Disney. But leading into that, I think this was 1990. This is just after Little Mermaid. The animation in this, especially just the opening sequence when they're like doing the flying scene, it was amazing. Oh, yeah. And it's I just thought that it's gorgeous. The whole color palette and kind of showing the Australian outback was kind of cool. But yeah, this is definitely one that I think that gets underrated or overlooked.
I guess you got probably two now to catch up because I only got two left now.
Okay. Another Disney one got released to theaters, was also based on a TV show. DuckTales, Treasure of the Lost Lamp.
God damn it, you took another one.
Is that another one?
That was my two. I love how we were so on the wrong page for Overrated, and now we are just like perfectly on the page now. We're
one I think that people forget exists, or they think of this story and think it was just like an episode of the TV show. Because people don't think of it as a movie, but this it came out in theaters as a full theatrical feature. DuckTales, the TV show, was another cartoon that I thought was just even as a guy who was like, at this point 17 years old, I just thought was a hilarious show. There's like there's a whole afternoon, there's like this and Tailspin and Darkwing Duck, that whole like line of shows of that era I really enjoyed. But DuckTales was just a ton of fun, which is weird because I've never been a big fan of Huey, Louie, and Dewey or Uncle Scrooge like in their old original cartoons. But in this iteration of them and just the characters, the stories they created was great. And then this movie was kind of just took all that and made it, like it was a movie. It kind of felt like a bigger story. And again, the animation was pretty good. I just thought it was fun as hell. But you had it even higher than me.
Yeah, I love DuckTales. I love the theme song. That at my old job, we've been playing like 80s, 70s, 90s radio, and I can't remember the song now to say, but it starts with the same DuckTales. And I know, and it's like in my head, I know it's not DuckTales, but my brain and me goes, DuckTales? And I'm like, no, it's a fucking oldie station. They're not going to play theme songs. But in my head, I'm like, life is like a hurricane. I love DuckTales so much. But yeah, the movie itself is so much fun. It's a fun animated film. Like I said, this was kind of like I said, in the 80s when you have the Chipmunk Adventures. You have a TV show with 3 leads, technically 4 if you count Scrooge, and even I'm blanking on the Chipmunks' guardian. It's not John because that's Garfield, but you have them where it's like you have the parental figure and then you have the 3 crazy kids and they go on an adventure, and that's basically what DuckTales the movie is.
Dave.
Dave. Yeah, that's right. It is Dave. And DuckTales does that, and instead of it being like a race around the world, with hot air balloons, which is what Chipmunks was, this is all about a golden lamp, which is also like right in tune with like Aladdin around the same time frame. So it was
2
like
years before Aladdin. Yeah,
exactly. So it's like here's DuckTales, and then all of a sudden here comes Aladdin, which even built even more onto it. But yeah, I was going so fucking well. I'll just end it here. I fucking love DuckTales, and I really really enjoyed the movie. But yeah, go ahead, Brian.
All right. You just have one left then?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to group my last 3 together, and then you can talk about your last one, because my last 3 are all part of the Disney Renaissance, but I feel like they're the ones.
Okay, good, because I'm 100% positive that my last one is not on the so.
But I think they're the ones that kind of, I think people think of as lesser than, and they think they kind of overlook them as like, oh, these aren't as good as, because everybody loves Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and Lion King, kind of that early 90s kind of triumvirate that everybody loves, and deservedly so. They're great films. I'll talk about them all later.
Same.
But for me, there was the three of the ones in the later, and you've talked about 2 of them. Hercules, you talked about. Hercules is a movie that I really am not a fan of the animation style. They have a weird look to the characters, and I know they were going for kind of that the characters, they wanted to look kind of like the illustrations on like the old Grecian urns and things like that. So that's why they had that real stylized version of it. But I didn't love the animation style, but I still love the movie because number 1, more great music. Love the music in it. Number 2, some of the characters. Not even Hercules. He's fine. But Megara, Meg, is actually one of my favorite Disney princesses, if you want to call her one. I just love her character, both the way she looks and the way she acts and her personality. She's real sassy. I loved her songs. But James Woods as Hades. James Woods may be a douchebag in real life, but he is perfect for this role. He kind of, as this hothead, is always quick tempered. He was perfect for this, and he made a great character. He made a great villain for it. So while the movie has its flaws, I think that's one that gets overlooked. Secondly, Hunchback, you mentioned. Hunchback is a movie that I think Disney saw that adults were liking these animated musicals as much as kids, so they leaned farther into it. And I think this one went too far for at least for the younger crowds, because to me, Hunchback of Notre Dame feels it's very gothic. It feels more mature. It feels like a Les Mis kind of musical kind of story to it, because it's definitely kind of got darker themes to it. The songs and the sounds of the music is definitely darker. It's not all so happy and peppy. My least favorite thing about the movie is the 3 gargoyles and their song, because
if I want to watch gargoyles, I will watch Gargoyles, the TV show, which is great.
Yeah, I agree with you that. But the gargoyles just felt like they were shoved in there to be like, oh wait, we need something more for kids. That to be cutesy. Let's put the gargoyles in there, and then we'll have them sing a funny song, and it'll be fun. So, but them aside, I love this as a mature musical. I love the music to it. I love the sound of it. I love the story of it. It was a classic story. Like they made a stage musical at this at one point, and I remember thinking when like Lion King and some of these other ones were becoming stage musicals, that I was like, you know what, you want to be perfect for it is Hunchback of Notre Dame. And they made one that like only it was in like London for a very short time. They never went anywhere else with it, because I think this is the one that's most suited for it. But I love this movie. I think it's underrated. And the last one is Tarzan. Tarzan, I think is underrated just because it was like it's 1999. It's the end of the Disney 90s, golden era renaissance before the 2000s, which in my opinion, Disney went way downhill in the 2000s. But we'll talk about that next episode. Tarzan, again, I think the animation looks amazing, especially when he's like going through the trees. At times, it looks like he's like surfing, through the jungle. I thought that looked really cool. The music this time by Phil Collins. I think the songs are a little bit hit and miss. I mean, some of them are good. Some just sound like they shoved a Phil Collins song in the middle of the movie. But this is another one that I just enjoy, and I just think is a little bit underrated. So that's up right there. So what's your last one?
My last one is, it's a guilty pleasure. I know the movie's probably not good, but I love it. And I mentioned it in the 80s, and that is the sequel to American Tail, which is Five Goes West.
Jimmy Stewart's last movie.
Yes. Like I said, I love Fievel. and I thought the Western storyline was fun. I loved the cat, you know, give him that crazy eye, and just that whole aspect of it. I just always found that as a fun movie for me as a kid. Like, oh God, it's been at least between 5 and 10 years since I've watched it again. But I remember watching on. This isn't as good, but I still enjoy it because I remember how much I loved it as a kid. And I still do. I will watch this before I watch the original one because I think I just have more fun with this one than the first film. But yeah, I've always loved Fievel Goes West.
I've never I'm not even sure I ever sat down and watched the first American Tail until, I don't know, in the last 10 years at some point. I think I finally watched this movie. Because that when first one did come out in that period where I was like, cartoons are for little kids. I'm not a little kid anymore. I'm like a tween or whatever I was at the time. I don't remember. But so I think I had seen one of those movies I've seen like the whole thing, but probably in parts, you know, just kind of never sat down and watched the whole movie. Fievel Goes West, I know for sure I never went and saw this movie. I've never sat down and watched this movie. I did work in a video store when it came out, so I'm sure it played constantly, so I'm familiar with it. I remember like a lot of quotes from it and things like that, but I have no real opinions on this movie.
All right, so now we go to our top 5 animated films of the 90s. I have one that's kind of combining 2 movies together, so technically I've got 6. Yeah, well, we do this a lot.
Well, fine then. I've got 6 too then.
Okay then. Go ahead.
Okay then. Trying to figure out which one we'll get.
Let's put it this way. I feel like
at least 3 of them are the same.
I feel like 3 or 4 of the 5 or 6 are going to be incongruent. So no matter what you say, most of them we're probably going to be in unison on, just like we were with surprises. So
okay, I'll start with one that I don't think is on yours. I mean, it could be. I don't know. And that's South Park. Bigger, longer, and uncut.
It like I said with Batman Massive Phantasm, if I did a top 10, South Park would have been on it. But it was just outside of it.
You know, South Park now, the novelty is kind of worn off. They still have definitely funny episodes now and then. And those ones recently that people were just loving.
I don't think I've watched it since it became like a Paramount Plus thing.
Oh, I have not watched it regularly. Like watched new episodes. Like there's whole seasons I think I've missed because
it's been probably 4, maybe 5 years since I've actually watched South Park because they started doing like the COVID special and all. I'm like, it's like, oh yeah, I'll watch that eventually. And once again, just like with streaming shit, there's so much crap to watch, you just forget about it. And
yeah, I want to say I watched like the first like I don't know, 12 seasons like religiously, and then I kind of fell off, and I was already gone from a couple seasons before it even went to before the streaming networks kind of popped up. But you know, when South Park first came out in 1997, I was kind of one of those first like heavy adopters of. I loved that. I was like preaching it to my friends and making everybody else watch it and everything, and kind of, you know, evangelizing for it. And then when they came out with the movie in 99, I was not prepared for this because, I mean, it was an aired on Comedy Central, which now Comedy Central will swear all they want on it. Back then, it was still, you know, they couldn't say, you know, certain words on Comedy Central. They couldn't do certain things. So it was, you know, maybe offensive to some people, but not like, you know, R-rated on TV. So I went and saw it and we go, oh, they're making a movie and it can be R-rated. And I walked into this movie just not even knowing what I was getting myself into. This is one of the very few movies I can remember seeing in the theater where I was literally crying from laughing so hard when I saw this movie. And me and a lot of people around me were just crying from laughing so hard because it was just, you know, it was original. It was hilarious. I love the fact they made it a musical and the songs are great. The songs are some of the funniest parts about it. And just everything about it was just such a surprise to me. And I just loved it. It was like, oh, cool. Animation really can be, you know, this was definitely not for kids. It can be something for adults. And it wasn't just like, oh, here's a movie version of the TV show. It's like it would take the TV show and we're making something way bigger out of it, which again, like I said, nowadays they can pretty much probably do everything they did in the movie on Paramount Plus or wherever they're doing the episodes.
Oh yeah, they have no restrictions now.
Right. But back then it was a huge deal.
Yeah, I was also a South Park kid. I remember my last year of trick-or-treating, I was Cartman. And I basically had like the big ass Cartman head and I like wrapped pillows all around me so I could be Cartman fat. And I think I maybe lasted 30, maybe 40 minutes, and I got too hot and tired carrying around all that extra weight. and I had to like go home. Like I just went home and like put my football uniform on. I was like, I'm a football player because it just got too hot wearing Cartman. But yeah, I loved the show. I think I watched it, like you said, I probably about 15 seasons straight, and then like dropped off and for a few years, and then came back and like re caught up with it and like got back up to date, and then like I said, lost it again around like COVID. And I haven't watched it since. Like I said, I'm sure it's still great. But yeah, I still have songs from this movie on my music that I listen to. Uncle Fucker, How Mother Bitch. I love that. I still quote this movie whenever at my old job. Whenever someone would bring in their dog and the dog's barking, like fucking guard dog shit. Yeah, I still would quote the what was he? Was he a German SOS kid or some shit like that? I don't know.
Oh yeah, I mean this movie is eminently quotable. I mean, like to this day, I'll still be like, "How would you like to suck my balls?" You know.
What did you say? I said, "How would you like to suck my balls, Mr. Garrison?"
What really got about this movie is honestly, for being just a South Park, for this funny TV show, it's going to be offensive, to be a legitimate good musical. I mean, the songs are so well done.
Nominated for an Oscar.
I mean, because Trey Parker has some musical stuff in his background, but then they got Mark Shaman to write the songs, and he's done like songs for like real movies and things. And so to have him doing the music for this, and then the way they took, especially there's a kind of that climactic song towards the end where like you kind of all the songs like mixed together into one.
Oh yeah. When they're like each one singing at the same time, they're all converging in. Yeah.
Just musically, it's so well done that it's just like, wow. I mean, even if you don't like South Park, you have to respect that this is just well done as just a musical. So yeah, this is underrated. But I mean, it didn't get on my underrated because I put on my best stuff. So
I'll talk about this now because I know it's not in your list because I feel like the rest are. Goofy movie. It's rated higher than it is right now.
Rockadoodle. Okay.
It's rated higher. No, Rockadoodle is my number one. I was gonna make that joke, but then you just ruined it. I was gonna make the joke. My number one movie is Rockadoodle, and just watch Brian lose his shit. But no, Goofy movie. I just went back and watched this last week, and guess what? Still fucking love it. Powerline is the shit. Why this guy did not continue...
Powerline Pauly Shore?
No, Powerline's the band or the singer. The guy who's like
Pauly Shore. Wasn't he like somebody?
Pauly Shore was one of his friends. He was the stoner friend who was he was a stoner without being a stoner. He was addicted to canned cheese.
I haven't watched this movie since the 90s. I don't.
Oh god, he has a normal name. It's not like no. Max is Goofy's son.
Oh okay.
Max is Goofy's son, and and then Pete is Goofy's friend, who's also got a son who's friends with Max. And then Pauly Shore is like the third friend, who's not even really a friend. He's just kind of like an acquaintance, because even then he acts like he doesn't know Max at certain points.
Bobby. Yeah.
Bobby's Pete's son, isn't he?
Well, that's Pauly Shore.
Oh, that's Pauly Shore. Okay, Bob. Like I said, it was just a regular name. But yeah, I still love this. And I'm sure I'm gonna have to defend this like I will in 2000s with another movie that I think Brian thinks is overrated that everyone in the 2000s loves. Which we'll wait till next show. But yeah, Goofy movie. Enjoy the music for what it is. It's not like except for Powerline's music, but like the actual songs that like Goofy and Max sing throughout, they're solid. They're not like top tier, Disney level. No, but I like the story they're telling. I think it's especially now as an adult, you can watch it now and you like understand Goofy more. Like it's one of those like. It's kind of like when you watch Home Alone now. Like when you were a kid, you were like, yeah, Kevin, yeah. Then you watch it as an adult, you're like, man, Kevin's a little shit and he kind of deserved to get in trouble. Like as a kid, you're like Max. You're like, oh man, how could Goofy do this to him? Whereas like now as an adult, you're like, Goofy just wants to spend time with his kid. Like it's not like you can now see both sides, and it makes it a stronger film for me. And like I said, Eye to Eye and Stand Out. I love both those songs, and I love when Max does the school like thing, and he like does the performance of Stand Out. That's probably like my favorite part of the movie, even though it's like at the very, very fucking beginning. And I'll say this: even though a lot of people don't like it, I love the sequel. It's not as good as the first one, but I enjoyed. I'm blanking. It's
that extremely goofy movie.
Yeah. It's like it's an extremely goofy movie, and they both go to college together, and like they have like an X Games like storyline to it. I enjoy that one too.
I don't
but
even know if I ever saw that one.
it's nowhere near as good. It's basically Goofy. You find out Goofy doesn't have a degree, and so he basically has to go get a degree so he can get a job. Because back then it's like you gotta have a degree to have a career. And so he's going to school at the same time as Max, and Max is trying to be an X Games like guy, and then Goofy ends up falling in love with like I think one of the teachers, and that's the main storylines. It's fine, but I still enjoy it because I love Goofy and Max. So yes, I am one of those kids, and I will defend the Goofy movie. And I think once again, the guy who sang for Powerline, like the actual singer in real life, missed out on a fucking gold mine, not continuing just to do Powerline for the rest of he'll go and he'll do like appearances and he'll sing those 2 songs. But dude, if you would have made like a fucking full on CD of and be Powerline through that, dude, you missed out on so much fucking money. So much fucking money.
Maybe you could go on tour with the You Got the Touch guy.
Okay, sure. I feel like the rest are gonna be the same. So go ahead and go with one of them because I'm pretty sure all of them are gonna.
Possibly, because I still have 5. You have 5s?
I have 5 because I have 2 movies stuck together. So
that's right.
Yes, I've got 5.
That's right. Okay, I'm gonna go with one that's not Disney. I'm gonna go with The Iron Giant.
Oh, actually, I do not have. I still have never seen it.
Oh.
I know how it ends, so it's like.
Well, you've seen Bumblebee. You've seen Bumblebee, right?
It's Iron Giant, but Transformers.
Yeah, so it's like the Mulan thing. You basically saw that.
But I have never seen Iron Giant. I know how it ends. I've seen the ending of it because don't they watch that in Ted Lasso? I think they watch it in Ted Lasso.
I don't know.
It's a movie night, and they all start crying because they're watching Iron Giant. But yeah, I've never.
Giant might not belong in my top 5. But it's there just because it was such a pleasant surprise. Now, but I didn't put it in my surprises because I kind of thought of my surprise list as more like my underrated list. And this one, a lot of people love, and pretty much most people who have seen it love this movie. It gets praised, and so I didn't feel like it was underrated. So I wanted to put a low on my favorites list. Because it's not a Disney film, it's Warner Brothers, which Warner Brothers in the 80s and 90s, they were putting out a lot of shit. They were putting out Thumbelina. They were putting out fucking Troll in Central Park. They were putting out, who knows what other kind of shit. So Warner Brothers can come out with
Did they do Fern Gully?
That was Fox. Was Fern Gully.
Okay.
Which is actually decent. I liked Fern Gully.
Yeah, I like Fern Gully.
I almost put that in my underrated actually. But this is a movie. I mean, it had a decent cast. It has Jennifer Aniston, it has Harry Connick Jr.'s in it. Vin Diesel obviously is practicing for Groot by just being on here yelling super bad. So I like the voice cast to it. The animation looked pretty good, especially for Warner Brothers standards, as far as their theatrical films. But really, this is a movie where it was the story. It was the heart of this movie is what makes it successful as it is, because it could just be just a boy and his robot, just kind of a throwaway film. But it really does. It's more emotional than you expect it to be. It's more touching. It's kind of lessons to it. It does kind of deal with he kind of Iron Giant is kind of forced to unwillingly kind of gets flipped to basically battle mode where he's like trying to attack and kill people, and of course the good shows through. So it's it's the kind of movie that kind of works for everybody, for kids and adults and everybody. I think a lot of the reason it works is because it's Brad Bird. This is directed by him, who of course he went on to Ratatouille and Incredibles, Mission Impossible stuff later, but yeah, this was, I believe, his first film. Yeah, because this was before his Pixar stuff. So yeah, this was just a great movie all around. Love this movie.
My next, I'm pretty sure you said you're going to talk about later, so I'm sure it's on your list, and that's Beauty and the Beast. I'm sure I'll get chastised for this. I actually prefer the live action one, just because I think it's because I like that cast. I like the cast. I do. I'm not ashamed to say it. I think the live action one just makes me feel good. Like it's like one of those like how like when we're feeling kind of
that's because Emma Watson makes you feel good.
Well, I also like Luke Evans as Gaston, and I think and of course our boy is Beast. I'm blanking on his fucking name right now. Dan Stevens, thank you. So it's like Kevin Kline as the dad, and I love that cast. Ewan McGregor, all them. It's one of those that I can put on if I'm in a bad mood and it'll make me feel better. But the animated is what we're talking about here. The animated is really good as well. I mean, it's iconic for a reason. Belle was like one of the first ones that wasn't an actual Disney fucking princess. She was just a girl. You know, the songs are good and animation looks great. I mean, yeah, now people try to like, you know, oh, it's Stockholm syndrome and oh, it's bestiality because she was gonna shut the fuck up. But Beauty and the Beast itself is a top tier animated film and one of Disney's best. Even though I prefer the animate or the live action, but that's just because, like I said, of the cast.
Yeah, no, like I said, this is the one that kind of made people say, "Hey, these are real movies," because this, like I said, this is the first animated film ever nominated for Best Picture. The animation was beautiful. The songs by Menken and Ashman were great. This is kind of right in the middle of their run, which, you know, going from Little Mermaid and this and Aladdin, among other things. So everything about this movie worked for me. I also like that this is kind of the last, well, not the last movie, but this is a movie that was great before it became, you know, where they just put celebrity names, packed animated films full of celebrity names. I mean, the biggest name in this is like Robbie Benson, or as the Beast, or, you know, Jerry Orbach as Lumiere. They didn't. This is back in the age when they didn't go stars. Kind of Aladdin kind of started that with Robin Williams. Kind of he was like, they sold it as Robin Williams as the genie. And then, you know, later on with, like, especially with DreamWorks, they did like Prince of Egypt. It was just like, just loaded with every celebrity we can think of. Before that, it was like, you know, Tarzan, your lead was Tony Goldwyn, and Hunchback of Notre Dame, your lead was Tom Hulce. These are actors you might be familiar with, might have seen them and stuff, but they weren't superstars. So I like that this wasn't just, you know, it wasn't just a bunch of celebrities as voice actors. Love the music about it, animation, the story obviously is a classic. Yeah, just it's pretty much a perfect film for me.
All right, what's your next one?
Let's just roll right into Aladdin while we're at it.
If you weren't, I was.
So Aladdin, as much as I lament that I wish it didn't become just celebrities, you know, doing voice roles instead of going for the best voice actor for the part, Robin Williams was the best voice actor for this part. This part could not have been more perfect for him, because he has his, you know, crazy kind of just free, you know, train of thought. Just the randomness just fit in perfect with how they were doing the genie. All the little references he's able to throw in, just improv. You know, like 90% of his script was improv.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And he did it so well. It was just so perfectly suited for him. But Aladdin, Jasmine, I take back about Meg. I said about Meg. Jasmine is my favorite Disney princess, just because, you know, even though I was, like I said, like 19 at the time, she was stirring things in my little mind. She was hot. Just saying.
Jasmine is gorgeous. Jasmine and Belle were my two. With especially Ariel after that.
Especially once she gets put in the red, like, slave girl outfit and starts giving those, you know, fuck.
She gives you Princess Leia vibes. Is that what you're?
But that was great. Abu, I love Abu. Maybe still my favorite sidekick of all the Disney movies up till now. The way they made the carpet, like, you know, sentient, and it was like a character. It felt like a real character. Just everything about that movie. And then, of course, the songs. The songs, I think, are maybe the best ones of any Disney movie.
I think from beginning to end, there is not a single song that does not hit for me. Like Lion King has got great music, but there's one, maybe two in there. I'm like, yeah. And Beauty and the Beast, same thing. It's like, it's great, but I think Aladdin has a perfect across the board for me. Every single song. Whether it's just the Arabian Nights song or Aladdin's first song, I'm blanking on the name of it, where he's running through the courtyard, to anything Robin does. And of course, yeah. And of course, you know, everything Robin sings, and then of course, Brave New World. I mean, each one is a fucking
whole new world.
Whole new world. But each one is a knockout.
Yeah.
And this is like my number 2. And it's more like even 1A for the 90s. Aladdin is just it's stellar. And I remember, like, once again, 90s kid, like Robin Williams, like I knew who he was, but he wasn't like Robin Williams to me yet. It was Aladdin that got me to that point. I remember for me, the biggest name that I knew was, I don't even know his name right now, but it was the guy who voiced Aladdin, because he's Steve from Full House. And that's how I knew it. I was like, oh, Steve from Full House is the lead. All right, cool.
Scott
And
something. I don't remember offhand.
yeah, I can't. If we were in trivia right now, I would be fucked. But because Robin Williams was not Robin Williams to me at that point. Yeah, because like Mrs. Doubtfire hadn't came out yet, and like I said, 90s kid. I was like single digits when this movie came out. So Robin Williams was just he's the genius. Yes, there he is. Because like I didn't watch Toys and Good Morning Vietnam and any of that stuff at that point in my age. So yeah, Steve was the big name for me. But I of course, like I said, me being a big shark and snake guy, when Jafar turns into the snake at the end, I was like, woo, but
that's the other thing that doesn't get enough attention is the villains in this era of Disney movie, because Jafar was awesome.
Jafar's great, and even Iago. I mean, he's annoying, but he's so good in the role. No one wants to listen to Iago talk, but he's so good. I'm blanking on his name. What the fuck's his name?
Gilbert Gottfried.
Thank you, Gilbert Gottfried. No one wants to listen to Gilbert Gottfried talk, but as Iago, I will. But yeah, Aladdin is top tier Disney. I will go ahead and knock my two first out of the way because I think the other one is the obvious one, and that is obviously Toy Story 1 and 2.
I listed Toy Story 1, but I 2 deserves to be right there with it. Yes,
exactly, which is why I was just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna put them together. I mean, what's there more to say about Toy Story, the franchise as a whole? Without Toy Story, there is no Pixar.
Well, that's just it. First of all, it's just the fact that Pixar before this had just made short films. They had made shorts, and sometimes they'd appear, before the things they put out like a VHS collection of Pixar shorts, things like that. But this was the first time they made a feature film, a full-length feature film, completely with computer animation. They'd used computer animation in things like Rescuers Down Under or in Beauty and the Beast and things like that. There'd been little parts where they try out using computer animation to complement regular animation. But this was one being made completely in a computer, never been done before on a feature-length scale. And so you'd think that it would be, you'd look back at it now and be like, oh, this looks like, early computer animation. This shit, I mean, it does not quite as 100% polished as something you watch now, but it holds up. I mean, for this to be their first one, it's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. And then, like I said, we were always taught when it came to Disney, because Pixar and Disney at this time were kind of like the same, is that if a sequel's coming out and it's animated, it's not going to be good. Outside of like Aladdin at the time, that was the only good one. So when Toy Story 2 got announced, we're like, all right, we'll see how it is.
Even the Aladdin one, because they're
stronger than the first one.
They released these Aladdin movies straight to home video. They didn't go to theaters. And like Return of Jafar didn't even have Robin Williams. It had Dan Castellaneta, the voice of Homer Simpson, was the genie. Which I think that at that point you realize just how important Robin Williams was to that, and just how good he was in that role. Because like especially we talk about the live action versions, when Will Smith did the live action version, he was good. He put his own spin on it. He was no Robin Williams.
Fine. No, he's no Robin, but he was fine. He got way too much shit for it.
So these straight-to-video sequels were kind of, even when Robin came back for the third one, they were still kind of seen as like, there's straight-to-video sequels. And Toy Story 2 was originally supposed to be the same thing. And then they looked at it like, we got to put this in theaters. This is just that good. And they did. I'm glad they did.
It's better than the first one. And it's just as strong. The animation's slightly better because, they had a few more years. It's got a stronger story. It feels like Tom Hanks and Tim Allen were already great as Woody and Buzz, but once they even got to the second movie, they just felt more seasoned into it as well. The whole cast, everyone's great. And then you had the addition of Joan Cusack as Jessie. Like every new character that they added to this, Bullseye the horse, even though he doesn't have any actual lines, they all grew and got better. And like I said, without Toy Story, I don't see The Incredibles, WALL-E, movies that we're definitely going to be talking about later, ever really coming to light. Because
if Toy Story had failed, then Pixar would have failed, or they probably would not have put out any more movies. And then there wouldn't have been the other ones who came back after them, after Pixar, with like the DreamWorks and stuff like that. So.
Exactly. Without Toy Story, there is no Pixar. And without Toy Story, I think Disney would have continued to not die, but kind of like die out a little bit, because their animation at the time when Toy Story 2 came out wasn't that strong. And Toy Story was kind of the start of the downfall of the animation of Disney. Because, I mean, granted, yes, you have Tarzan, Hercules, Hunchback of Notre Dame, but like I said, not as strong. And when you got to the 2000s,
Well,
you had
definitely
like,
watch into the 2000s. Yeah, yeah.
you have like your fucking Brother Bear and all this shit, and Pixar was just like reign supreme. And like I said, it's all because of Toy Story. Now, as much as we love Aladdin, Toy Story 1 and 2, when it comes to the 90s animation, there's one film. There's one film above
One
the
film
rest,
is king, yes.
and that's Rockadoodle. Uh, no, it is the fucking Lion King. I mean, how this
Oh, I
movie
didn't see
came
that
out.
one.
You didn't
The
see it?
fucking Lion
Okay,
King?
well, let me
You
tell
saw
you
a
about
different
it.
version.
Let me tell you about it. How this movie did not win Best Picture when it came out.
I don't even think it was nominated.
It wasn't.
That's shocking to me.
It wasn't, and that is one of the biggest crimes. There's a lot of
honestly, because I think Aladdin should have been, and I think this one should have been. Now,
yeah,
would it have won? Probably not, because it came out in the same year as Pulp Fiction and Forrest Gump. So it was not going to win.
But it should have been up there. It would have been probably one of the all-time strongest Best Pictures in Oscar history if Aladdin.
Yeah, it absolutely should have been nominated for Best Picture, but it wasn't. I think there was a backlash, almost like a fear in the Academy of like, wait a minute, we're going to let cartoons get nominated for our.
It's no different now with horror and comedy's kind of been okay if there's more drama to it, but like no one they're afraid to put horror up there. Now that there's 10 movies, they have a little more leeway with, once they brought Get Out into it, or even a comic book movie with Dark Knight.
Remember the animation though? It's like I feel like they didn't want animated films to be able to be nominated for that, and then so they said, well, what we'll do, we'll create an animated movie category for you, so we can put you over there instead. And so they did that, and now since then, only like two more movies have ever been nominated for actual Best Picture, because they're like, oh no, you have your little award over there.
Well, it's kind of the same thing they were doing with the international one. It's like, and then you have the occasional one like Parasite, where it's like, no,
one will cross over. Yeah,
it's like, no, we're gonna put this over here. But yeah, Aladdin, I mean, the music, the visuals, the story, which, like you said, Hamlet, iconic characters, iconic villain in Scar, Jeremy Irons, probably one of, if not the best villain song in a Disney film would Be Prepared. You had fun.
And once again, perfect casting. Jeremy Irons. Yes. Oh.
And which even made more sad when they did the new one. And I love Chiwetel Ejiofor, but Be Prepared sucked.
Well, the whole movie sucked.
It wasn't even a song. He was talking the whole time through it. It was
they needed to give the Dung Beetle a song. That would have made it better.
Yeah, the Dung Beetle that you watched for a full minute pushing shit around, that should have got a song. But I mean, the animated one is pitch perfect. I mean, the killing of Mufasa was like so heartbreaking.
That traumatized a generation right there.
Yes, it traumatized a generation on top of the ones that were already traumatized from seeing Littlefoot's mom die in Land Before Time, to seeing Bambi's mom die in Bambi. It was like, hey, let me hold my beer. Here's Mufasa. Here's fucking Darth Vader, the #1 villain of all time. And we're going to make you actually give a shit about him dying in this. I mean, Lion King could do no wrong. And then they still had the comedy with Timon and Pumbaa and even the hyenas. With Whoopi and
Cheech.
Help me. Yeah, Cheech and wasn't
and then Jim Cummings.
Yeah, Rowan Atkinson was the parrot.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I was like, Rowan
it wasn't a parrot, it was a what kind of bird?
Toucan. He was a toucan. Yeah, he was a toucan. But yeah, Lion King is just the end all be all of actual, I don't want to say actual, cartoon animation, and whereas Toy Story is the end all be all of like the not CGI, computer animated. I'm trying to say the words right. But to have both of them come out like within like a year of each other is just like, dude, 94, 95 in animated was like, you're not going to top that. Now, like, there's phenomenal films we're going to be talking about later, but to have those two bam, bam like that, Disney was on another level with Pixar at that time. And like I said, this top 5, I mean, or at least with like Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, and Toy Story 1 and 2. I mean, those were the end all be alls of animation.
Yeah, we kind of already talked about the 90s was kind of the peak of animation. Now we'll get into in future episodes. Like currently, we're kind of going through a new kind of golden age for animation in a different way. but 90s was kind of the peak of animation, and Lion King and Toy Story were the top of that heap. Yeah.
And Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast, they deserve to be talked like that, but
Absolutely.
it's like, but Lion King and Toy Story are right fucking there. But what were your guys' favorite animated films of the 90s? Was it, I'm assuming, probably the same ones that we're talking about? Are you guys mad at our overrateds because you guys love those so much?
Was yours Pokemon, the first movie?
Oh God, fuck Pokemon. Or was it some Studio Ghibli thing that we just didn't refuse to talk
Cool
about?
World, maybe?
You know what? I almost put that on overrated. I was like, I don't know if that's overrated.
Oh, it's not. People know it's shit.
Not.
Yeah.
It's not. I just remember
It's more of a curiosity than anything else.
I was so confused watching it as a kid. I was like, I don't know what I'm watching.
It was basically somebody said, "Hey, what if we did Roger Rabbit but for adults, like R-rated?"
And we'll put a young Brad Pitt who's
Brad
not
Pitt,
that good of an actor yet, and we'll throw him in here. Yeah, but let us know what your opinions of the 90s animation and I'm gonna get through this. Let us know what you thought of the pre-90s as well. What were your favorite 80s and pre-80 animated films as well? Is it basically all the Disney stuff like we thought, or do you have some weird one that we didn't talk about? Let us know. Coming up next, obviously we're going to go into the 2000s for the decades of animation. Also, we are ending summer, so we are going to be having our end of summer review where we'll be going over our thoughts of the movies that came out in the last 4 months, as well as look back at our predictions for the top 10 box office draws and see where we are at that time of the shooting. We'll probably be shooting that here in the next week or so. Also, because summer's ending, we are now going to be going into the fall end of year schedule. So we'll be having our fall end of year movie preview where we'll be going over all the rest of the movies at least we know about currently through the end of the year and what we're excited for and can't wait to get our hands on and watch. So we got plenty of videos. And of course, at the end of the month, we'll be doing our typical movie review roundup where we'll be talking about like Naked Gun and Weapons and everything else that came out in August. So plenty of videos to come. We hope you guys stick around and watch all those with us. But we are the Movie Crusaders. I'm Sean Waskrew. That is Brian Michaels. And until next time, in case we don't see you, go watch some movies and go have some fun.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.